Welcome back to Hot Flashes and Horsepower, the podcast for midlife women who enjoy life with the throttle wide open. I'm your host, Shell, road name Passout, and this is episode 5, Finding Your Tribe, Community, Connection, and Sisterhood on Two Wheels. Today, we're talking about something that may be even more important than motorcycles themselves, community. Because if you've been riding for any length of time, you've probably figured out something that surprised you, that the bike gets you out of the house, but it's the people who keep you riding. For many of us, especially women over 50, finding community isn't as easy as it used to be. We no longer meet people through school. Our kids are grown. Many of us work from home. Some of us are divorced or widowed, retired, or starting over in some way, shape, or form. And making new friends as an adult can feel downright awkward. Yet somehow, motorcycles create amazing opportunities for connection, unlike almost anything else I've ever experienced. So today's episode is about finding your tribe and building meaningful friendships, discovering that you are never too old to create a whole new chapter of belonging. So let's get into it. The loneliness that nobody talks about. Can we get honest for a minute? Middle age can be fucking lonely. Not necessarily because we're alone all the time. In fact, some of us are in that weird sandwich phase where we might still have a kid or two at home while simultaneously caring for aging family members. We may rarely have a moment to ourselves, in fact, but we still feel lonely because life changes. Friendships drift apart and schedules get complicated and people move and relationships end and caregiving responsibilities increase. We might feel surrounded by people all the damn time and activities going on around us all the damn time, and yet still feel incredibly isolated. Suddenly, one day you wake up and you realize you spent all these years taking care of everyone else while your own social circle quietly shriveled and shrank. And I hear this story from women riders all the time. They tell me things like, oh my gosh, I love my husband, but I need my girls. Or my marriage ended and suddenly my social circle shrank or disappeared completely. That's exactly what happened to me when my marriage ended in 2020, because I had been the primary breadwinner and had traveled extensively for work. And when I was home, I felt such a need to really focus on my children and my relationship that I didn't invest in my own social circle and my own social life. And my ex-husband had always been, kind of the fun guy. So when we split up, our kind of married couple friends all sort of naturally gravitated toward him. And I was sort of left with nothing. It was tough. I hear writers say things like, my kids are grown and I don't know who I am anymore. Hello, my youngest just graduated last week. The empty nest is hitting hard. I'm feeling this one as well. I feel invisible. I hear people say that too. Women our age start to feel like they don't even exist. They're just this invisible entity in any space they're in now. I hear things like, I don't fit in with the women I used to spend time with. Maybe you had great connection with a group of women because your kids were part of the same soccer team, or they went to the same school and you were involved in, school volunteer activities together, things like that. And now that those connections have changed as the kids are growing and leaving the nest, you realize that the connections with those women might be a little more tenuous than you thought because the things that held you together are no longer there and the values that you have may no longer be shared with those women. I hear women say things like, I've outgrown my own life, my old life. Those feelings are way more common than people realize. The beautiful thing about motorcycles, though, is that they create an instant point of connection. You don't have to explain to somebody who rides why you ride. You don't have to justify why you love it. The people around you who ride already understand. And sometimes that is the start of a real friendship. There is something unique about motorcycle friendships, and riders connect differently. You can spend hours riding next to somebody without ever saying a word, and yet somehow feel deeply connected afterward. Think about that. Most relationships are built through conversation. Motorcycle relationships are often built through shared experience. The sunrise ride, the rainstorm you got caught in, that roadside breakdown, the wrong turn that turned into an unforgettable adventure, the group ride where everybody was laughing until they cried. Those experiences create bonds. I had an amazing experience a couple weeks ago. My club and I rode from Arizona, where we live, to Tulsa, Oklahoma for a rally. And on that ride, we had, of course, some challenges and some obstacles and whatnot. It's inevitable when you're riding 1,000 miles each way. But we also had these ridiculously beautiful landscapes that we were experiencing together, these incredible moments. At one point, riding I-40 East through northern New Mexico, we had just passed through Albuquerque and headed toward Santa Rosa. There were rain clouds up ahead, a little bit of a sprinkling rain, not enough that we needed to pull over and put on gear, but just enough to remind us we were out there in the elements. That was beautiful. But what was even more incredible was up ahead, you start to see a rainbow appear. And then it completely emerges into this beautiful, full horizon to horizon rainbow. And we're all pointing at each other and pointing at the rainbow, like, do you see that? Do you see that? And then it turned into a double rainbow. And we're just all, losing our minds at that we're out here in this big, beautiful landscape with this incredible rainbow and then double rainbow overhead, and we're experiencing it together. And you can sure bet when we stopped in Tucumcari for gas and jumped off oh my gosh, did you see that rainbow? The conversation, that shared experience, it was an incredible moment of connection. And it's something that we as individuals will take with us as an experience that we shared with these other women probably for the rest of our lives. It was that incredible. Those experiences create bonds, and age does not matter when you're standing around a gas station swapping stories. One of the things I love most about motorcycle communities is that they often bring together people who might not ever cross paths otherwise. Teachers, nurses, grandmothers, executives, retirees, small business owners, veterans, women from completely different backgrounds suddenly discover they have far more in common than they ever imagined. Again, referencing my own club, in my chapter alone, we have a professional truck driver. I come from an education and technology background. I have another colleague who's in administration, another club sister who works in customer success and support, another who works in financial literacy and professional development in that field. So we come from these very diverse backgrounds. Our sisters in other chapters come from healthcare, law enforcement, military, you name it. And here we are all connecting as sisters over this shared love. Now let's talk about something that's a little uncomfortable, and that's overcoming the fear of putting yourself out there, making the first move and finding community. It requires courage. And if you're listening right now thinking, that's great, but I don't know anybody, this part's for you. Many women wait for friendships to happen naturally. And that was easy when we were younger. There were a lot of points of contact and a lot of opportunities for connection that life just naturally provides when you were younger. But the problem is after 50, friendships often don't happen naturally. We have to create those opportunities. And that might mean things like showing up to bike nights or joining group rides, attending motorcycle events or participating in online communities, maybe taking some riding classes or joining women-focused riding groups, riding clubs, motorcycle clubs, and so on. And yeah, walking up to strangers. I know that sounds terrifying, but here's what I learned. Most of the women you see standing alone at motorcycle events are also hoping someone talks to them. They're nervous too. They're wondering if they'll fit into, and they're looking for connection too. And sometimes all it takes is just asking, hey, what do you ride? And suddenly you've got a new friend. Now, not every riding group will be your group, and that's okay. Some groups are heavily focused on long distance touring. Some are focused on charity rides. Some are club oriented. Some are women only versus, co-ed clubs. Some are highly social and some are more serious. But the beautiful thing is you don't have to force yourself to fit in somewhere that doesn't feel right. Finding a community is a little like dating. Do these people share my core values? Do I feel comfortable? Do these feel like people that I could trust? Are these people I would enjoy spending my time with? You might need to try several groups before you find your people. When I started riding, I probably spent a solid year, trying to find other women to ride with. And, I started off, of course, with the good old Google search, and I found there were a number of very well-respected, legitimate riding organizations that provided opportunities for women to connect with other women. And they're great. And they're, national or international groups. but I didn't feel like they were a good fit for me. I, was taking a look at the membership, and I'm sure they're all lovely ladies, but I just didn't feel like it was necessarily a community that shared some of my core values or necessarily would enjoy the same kinds of things that I would. To put it bluntly, they didn't seem like the kind of people who would want to go hang out the places that I would feel most comfortable hanging out. If you do your homework, you spend a little time around people, and you start to realize, like, yeah, this feels like a good fit for me, or maybe this isn't my space. They could be great people, but just not where you would feel most comfortable. You got to pay attention to how you feel. Do you feel welcomed? Do you feel included? Do you feel respected? Do you feel encouraged? Can you be yourself? For me personally, I didn't want to be spending my time, up in the bars in Cave Creek listening to Freebird. That might be your jam. And by all means, have a great time with that. Just not a good fit for me. The right community does not require you to shrink yourself. The right community is going to help you grow. And it's always important to remember that a smaller group of genuine connections is going to be worth way more than a huge circle of acquaintances. And quality matters more than quantity. The power of women supporting women. This is where I get a little passionate, because women riders need each other. We need each other, especially women over 50. So many of us started riding later in life. Many of us were told we couldn't or that we shouldn't. You got to be a responsible parent. That's so dangerous. You don't need to be putting your life on the line like that when you have young kids at home. I certainly listened to that and did not disagree with it. I made a conscious choice to step back from my curiosity about riding until my children were grown or mostly grown, because I felt for me that was the responsible choice to make. Many of us spent years believing motorcycles were not for people like us. Then we finally got on a bike and discovered an entirely new version of ourselves. And that transformation can be hard for people who don't ride to understand. But another woman rider, she gets it. She understands the fear, the excitement, the confidence, the freedom, the healing, the personal growth. There's something incredibly powerful about being surrounded by women who celebrate your success instead of competing with it. Women who encourage you to take that class, buy that bike, take that trip, chase that dream. Those friendships can seriously change your life. I know they've changed mine. So if you're listening today and you feel a little disconnected, I want you to hear this. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not the only one looking for your people. There are women out here right now who are looking for the exact same thing that you're looking for. They're looking for friendship. They're looking for adventure. They're looking for belonging, connection, and community. And sometimes all that's standing between you and those relationships is that one decision to just show up. One ride, one event, one conversation, one brave moment, putting yourself out there. The motorcycle community gave many of us more than a hobby. It gave us a tribe. And if you haven't found yours yet, that's okay. Keep looking. I promise you, they're out there. So I have a question for you today. Tell me about a friendship you've made through motorcycles, or tell me maybe where you're struggling to find community. I would love to hear your story. If you haven't already joined, we have a Facebook community called Hot Flashes and Horsepower. So find us on Facebook and share your story. Tell me about a great friendship that motorcycling has brought into your life, or maybe tell us about how you're struggling. You might just find your people. Until next time, keep the shiny side up, keep showing up for yourself, and remember, the road is better when you don't ride it alone.